Back again, like we never left. Hello. If you are new to my channel, my name is Sid. I go by Sid, not Sydney on the internet. And if you aren't new, then hello. I know it's been a minute. These past couple of months have been very trying, to say the least. Life has definitely been kicking my ass. And I don't know, I feel like when it comes to just trying to be a human, like, obviously everyone struggles and everyone goes through things, but I just haven't really been motivated to make a video. I've been wanting to make a video. I've been wanting to record and film and, be creative, but we're gonna get into it in this video. But, yeah. If you can tell, the video quality is probably gonna be a little bit different, a little bit, elevated. I'm actually recording this on a camera that I have had for the past 4 years. Yeah, for the past 4 years, but I haven't really used since 2022. So, trying something new, switching it up. Yeah. So getting into the actual video, I kind of wanted to sort of explain myself as to why I kind of, disappeared for these past couple of months. Not that I necessarily owe anyone an explanation, and I'm sure most people probably don't even care, but I've been going through a lot mentally, and I've been experiencing a lot of mental blocks, creative blocks. Most of it has to deal with, my own mental health struggles and struggles with depression and anxiety. As of today, I am officially a college grad. I finished my last semester of college ever earlier this week. I submitted the final assignment for my classes, and I am basically free. I no longer have to worry about any more tests, any more assignments, papers, nothing like that. And, I've been thinking about this a lot ever since the beginning of this semester, the idea of me finally finishing and finally making it out on the other side. But I feel like, I should be happy. I feel like I should be happy that I did it and it's over and I can, rest or whatever. But if anything, I kind of just feel empty. I kind of just feel numb. I feel like I spent 6 years of my life being a college student, and not to put, a timeline on it, or, I'm not saying that I wish I would have finished my degree sooner. People finish things at their own time, at their own pace. That wasn't really something that I really cared about that much. But these past 6 years have been a lot, especially with, having to survive a pandemic, on top of being a college student, on top of, trying to find work here and there when I could, and just dealing with a lot, trying to work through certain traumas that still affect me even to this day. Trying to go to therapy, trying to find all these different things to sort of help myself as a young adult trying to navigate this world. And coming at the tail end of, my college era and being done with college for good, because I do not plan on getting my master's. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I feel like I should be happy and I should feel all these things, but I really don't feel anything. I don't feel happy. I don't feel sad. I don't really feel proud of myself. And, I don't regret going to college. I definitely don't. I don't. I kind of feared that I would, but I feel like if I didn't go down the path that I did, I feel like I wouldn't have met, certain people that I still keep in touch with. I wouldn't have seeked out certain opportunities that kind of, led me to certain things and allowed me to achieve certain things. So I definitely don't regret the college journey or whatever. I do feel like I was kind of robbed of the college experience a little bit because I started college in 2019 when I was 18 years old. Went the community college route. And then literally when the pandemic had started, I was only in my second semester. So it was just like I got like a little sliver of the college experience until, everything got moved to online learning. And in 2021, by this point, I had finished, community college like a year prior in 2020. And then 2021, I transferred to the university that I graduated from. And I spent a year living on campus, and that was cool. I got to have my own dorm, and I kind of got to experience a little bit of living on my own. And just like, I got a little taste of independence. But I even struggled then, and I struggled heavily then. Like, very depressed, very suicidal, just very lonely. And that was kind of like when I realized how bad my depression was. And that was sort of like the moment that I knew that I truly needed not only therapy, because I had already started therapy right before that, but also, potentially getting on medication and like just trying to get myself right, I feel like I was still sort of like grieving in a lot of ways in terms of like grieving things from my childhood and like still working through a lot of traumas that I experienced from my family and like, just stuff, right? Just going through stuff. And then afterwards, 2022, I decided to go back to being an online student. And from then on, I don't really know what I was doing. Like, I knew that I was in school, but I was just kind of just like all over the place. And now, we are here in 2025, and honestly, I feel like I am back at square one, in terms of just like, what am I necessarily doing with my life? I've always dreaded that question, and even when I was still in college, I would still get asked that question a lot of like, what do you plan to do with your degree? And I just never really knew what to say to people, what answer I could give them that was acceptable enough. I just didn't care, you know what I mean, to answer the question, because I just didn't care to talk about it, because I just felt so just like detached from being alive, as like sad as that sounds. Like, I never really felt truly present in my mind and in my body and in the reality that like I am pursuing a degree. And yeah, I don't know. My college journey has been interesting, but I don't want to make that the bulk of the video. But yeah, as of today, I am a college grad. I have my bachelor's in English. Something else that I wanted to sort of discuss is kind of the sort of like real reason why I'm making this video in the first place, is sort of like my lack of creativity, or like my sort of lack of feeling creative. The title of this video is Diary of a Queer Fiber Artist, but originally I was going to title this video Depression Has Been Ruining My Creativity. And the thing about living like a creative lifestyle, or like being an artist, or specifically a fiber artist, when you are struggling with mental illness, or just being disabled in some sort of way, being creative or trying to be a creative person is not for the weak. When you have like so many external forces working against you, to not necessarily like do the things that you know that you want to do and that you should do in order to like evolve as a person. And over these past couple of months, I just have not been feeling creative. I have not been feeling like anything that I make is worth sharing, or, it just feels like I've just been trying to throw random shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, but nothing is sticking. And it's been really affecting me. It's like I'm in this vicious cycle of like, I feel depressed, so I want to create, but I don't like anything that I'm creating, which is making me more depressed. And it's just like, I've been stuck in this cycle for a couple of months now, and it's been a lot of factors have contributed to the depression side of things. I have been off of my antidepressants for the past couple of months, mainly because like back in like March, like when I was trying to refill my prescription, like apparently I had ran out of refills, and they was like, you have to call your doctor to get it refilled, and I was just too lazy to do that shit. So I just willingly just didn't refill it, and so I've kind of just been raw dogging life for the past couple of months. But as of yesterday, I was able to actually refill my prescription, so I'm definitely getting back on my antidepressants, which I am, excited for. But yeah, and then just like, life stuff, having to take care of family, having to take on a lot more responsibility in terms of taking care of family, and feeling like stretched thin a little bit in that regard. On top of, trying to finish out this semester with midterms and finals. And I don't know, I just feel like I've just been pulled in so many different directions over like these past few months, ever since January. And it's just been really taking a toll on me emotionally and mentally. And while things are a lot more manageable now, I'm still, dealing with the after effects of it. And it's been really hard for me to just like slow down and rest, because I feel like the anxiety part of me just kind of just like fears that like something else is going to come up, and I'm going to have to deal with something else that's going to bring me back to that feeling of being stretched thin. And life is always full of surprises, and stress and anxiety will always be present in my life. I don't think that it will ever go away. Just like depression, I feel like will always be a part of my life. And part of growing up is just learning how to deal with it. But I'm tired. And I've been tired for a very, very, very long time. And yeah, it's been affecting my creative output. Yeah, I mean, I started this fiber arts channel back at the beginning of the year because I wanted to not only like, have different sort of like avenues of like exposure in terms of like, promoting my arts and promoting my business and like, whatever. But I've always enjoyed making YouTube videos. And like, I think I mentioned this before, but this channel isn't like a new channel. This is actually just like a rebrand of an old channel that I had where I made, vulnerable videos like this. This is kind of like my roots. So I feel the most comfortable right now just talking to the camera. But yeah, like I said, I just haven't really felt compelled to be on camera because of how exhausted I've been. And also because, like, I think because I mean, I grew up with social media, but like trying to sort of treat social media and like treat, you know, my art as a side hustle has also been burning me out, because going back to the whole not feeling creative, it's been causing me to just like compare myself a lot to sort of my peers that I, you know, follow in the fiber arts community. I recently deleted my personal Instagram purely because I just didn't really use it that often, but I don't know, I just didn't really want to be so visible online. But when it came to my fiber arts Instagram, I just noticed that I was just a lot more active on that side of the platform. And so, but now it's coming to the point where I'm starting to feel that feeling of like watching other people make the things that they make and feeling self-conscious and insecure and just thinking like, damn, like I don't know if I really belong in this space. Like, you know, they say like comparison is like the thief of joy and growth, and I've really become a victim to it. Like seeing my peers that I follow, not even just on Instagram, but just like, you know, people that I also look up to on YouTube in terms of like artists and stuff, and just like not feeling like I am on the same level as them in terms of financial success or like, you know, business success or like creative output or consistency. I think that's the biggest thing, is the consistency part, that I've always struggled with being consistent with stuff. I just felt like, you know, crochet and knitting was just like the thing that made me want to be consistent. I remember when I first started learning back in 2023, how excited I felt that I had found something that, you know, sparked that creative side of me, because prior to that, making YouTube videos was my thing. And then that started to die off, and, you know, I kind of abandoned my old channel and decided to create this one after getting into the fiber arts, because I wanted to share my journey with y'all. But even now, I'm starting to question myself as an artist of like, am I even good enough? I truly feel like I really don't bring much to the table. Trying to make this a side hustle, I often wonder like, am I even wasting my time? You know, I'm not saying all this for pity. You know, I'm just being honest. When it comes to talking about entrepreneurship and like wanting to, you know, pursue a creative job or getting into creative hobbies, I feel like it is important to have the conversation of, it does feel like a fight for your life in terms of just like showing up for yourself and believing in yourself and, you know, convincing yourself that you are worthy of, you know, doing something meaningful. And I just have been struggling with all of those, you know what I mean? I do think that, you know, part of this kind of has to deal with like, or at least I feel like my feelings partly have to deal with, you know, the capitalistic side of things. And I feel like we are all sort of like victims to capitalism and like the capitalistic mindset of every hobby that you do has to be monetized in some way and has to produce some sort of reward, you know, some sort of benefit. I am having to remind myself that, like, you know, it's okay to just do things because you like them, not because you feel like you can make a dollar figure from them. You know what I mean? Like will always the money will always come in some way, but like your passion should just be a passion first, and then, you know, if you get to a point where you can get some shit moving, then you know what I mean? I don't know. I guess I've just been more so in my head. Am I cut out to be an entrepreneur? Am I cut out to actually have like a small business and like sell my stuff? Like, again, just that feeling of just not feeling creative enough, not feeling original enough. That's the biggest thing too. I feel like because crochet specifically is becoming more and more popular, I feel like the crochet market is becoming a lot more saturated. So it's like everybody wants to have their own crochet business, and there are some genuinely very, very talented people out here who are making beautiful creations and deserve all of this success when it comes to, putting their, selling their stuff and all that. And I don't know. I just feel like I just don't, I just don't, I just don't have that. And it just sucks because it's just like, when it comes to working and like trying to make money and trying to sustain yourself, like I've always hated working. I have worked a job every year since 2019, like up until this year. And every job I have personally left due to me either being burnt out or just due to me not liking the work conditions or the people or whatever. And I just don't know like how I am going to be able to like support myself if I just can't even handle like the demands of working like a regular job, but then trying to work for myself and, you know, pursue a more creative career. If I don't even feel like I am worthy of doing that because I don't feel like I bring anything to the table, I don't know. I just feel like I'm at a loss. So, yeah. Capitalism and, trying to just, I don't know, exist as a person is hard. Something else that I wanted to discuss is the topic of queerness and, sexuality. Since Pride Month is next month, I did sort of want to touch on my own queer identity and kind of how the fiber arts has sort of helped me sort of affirm my queer identity, seeing as I, am mutuals with a lot of other queer people. I feel like the more that I learn about just like sexuality versus like sensuality and gender expression and all these things, I think the more that I am coming to terms with the fact that I identify as being ace and non-binary. And these weren't really things that I really thought too hard about when I was growing up, purely because I just didn't have the knowledge and, growing up in the South, you know what I mean? And growing up Black, like, you kind of get taught a lot of ignorant things about, the LGBTQ community, and there's a lot of homophobia rooted in a lot of these teachings. So just coming from my own, just like ignorance, I didn't really question the idea of being straight or being queer. But the older that I get, and the more that I educate myself, and the more that I surround myself with people who are different than me, the more that I have sort of become more secure in my queer identity. Now, granted, I'm still very much, learning and like discovering new things about myself. But I feel like if anyone were to sort of ask me what my sexuality was, most likely I'd probably just say that I'm queer. That feels the most comfortable to me, that makes the most sense to me. And in terms of how this relates to the fiber arts, I feel like when it comes to pursuing any sort of art, I just feel like there are just no rules in terms of like how you are supposed to show up for yourself and how you are supposed to, express yourself. I feel like a big part of being queer is expression, and as an expressive bitch myself, who loves to express themselves through clothing or, through their art or whatever, being able to make my own clothes and just being able to be as creative as I want with the things that I make has just allowed me to sort of be more authentic and true to myself. And I really want to give like a hand to the queer community for that, because I feel like had I not started learning how to crochet and knit and recently learning how to sew, I feel like I would have stayed stuck in this box or stayed stuck in this like imaginary label of, I don't know, feeling confined and feeling like I just, I don't know. I guess I'm just saying all this to say that like the fiber arts really have saved my life, and I'm just very grateful to have met and connected with the people that I know. And yeah, I just feel like if all else fails, regardless of how shitty the world is and how shitty, you know, our government is, at least here in America, and just how it truly does feel like we are in the end times, creativity is going to be the thing that will always keep me afloat and keep me feeling sane. And even in the moments when I don't feel creative, creativity will always be around me. In the music that I listen to, the art that I consume, the movies that I watch, the YouTube videos, the YouTube essays that, keep me entertained. I always know that I will always live in a creative bubble. And, I want to be able to contribute to that world. I want to be able to have sort of like my own little nucleus of like creativity and creative output, you know what I mean? And even though, I am very much a hermit and I spend pretty much 99% of my time in my house, in my bedroom, and I feel like, the internet is truly like my only third space. In the future, I would like to see more creative, events and spaces and like gathering, like community gathering materialize, because I feel like it is important to surround yourself with like-minded people, even if it's small, even if it has to be virtual. And this is something that I have to work on as well. But yeah, my camera's about to die. So I am going to leave y'all with that. This was just like a little, taste, a little sneak peek into, my brain and where I've just been at mentally over these past couple of months. I don't know when I'm going to post again. I do have some ideas for content, but we'll see where life takes us. So thank you for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.